Tech Addicts, as useful as slightly damp polyfiller. This week, the Steam Deck has gone OLED, SSD performance speeds have increased. Say goodbye to the DSLR. Register now for wank.ing. Doogee and Samsung have new tablets. And could there be a Nintendo phone on the horizon? Hello and welcome to the Tech Addicts Podcast. It's the 12th of November. I'm your happy and handsome host, Gareth, and the other co-happy and co-handsome co-host is Ted Salmon. How are you, Ted?
Happy and handsome, eh? Yes, that does describe me, not you. Well,
I used to be happy and handsome.
I was going to say, except the happy bit. Yes, I'm all right, thank you. And I'm looking out the window at the weather to go our usual weather report, and it's very overcast, very cloudy, quite cold and rainy. This is my time of year. I've arrived. Yes!
Terrific. Rain and grey skies and glum.
Drizzle and gloom.
Welcome to the Tech Addicts Podcast, folks.
Yay! How are you doing over there?
Not too bad. Life is just meandering on. We had a power cut on Friday night, which was... power cuts are different now. I was able to jump onto my 4G signal that I have in the house and go to the Northern Ireland Electricity website and have a look and see that, oh, yes, it's out in my area.
Yeah.
There's currently 10 houses that are... affected by this. The property across the road, which is an old folks nursing home actually, they have flagged it as an issue, so I will flag it too, just to try and get them to sort it out a little bit faster, because, you know, why not? And had a look around and everyone else's was fine. I was able to check my mother's house and saw the power was still on at her house and she was good. So I went round to her house and said, can you boil the kettle please? I would like some hot water to make a cup of coffee. And she did that and proved useful one more time in her life.
The first and last time.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I've looked at the website thingies and the tracking, and I don't know if they do this over there, but here they also tell you the estimated time of repair and when it's going to come back on. And they if you go back and that's been estimated wrongly, they live update it. It is actually very good. You're right.
Yeah, it's almost like they've thought about things and actioned them, unlike certain other water industries. The thing that I didn't quite take the estimated time, because it went out about, I think, 6:30 or so, and then it came back on again at 9 o'clock. But it said it would come on at 9:30. But I figured because there's the old folks' home is it's got medical facilities and things. It had a backup generator, and that's how I usually know that the power has gone out.
Yeah.
Not by all the lights switching off. That could just be the trip or something. But you'd hear the electricity generator turn on, their diesel generator, go, because it's a really low hum and it's awful to sleep through. I've had to try and do that before, but theirs didn't switch on. I was like, oh, flippin' heck. Right, okay, the power's gone out and that diesel generator's not on. It must just be me. And I had to take a dander around to see, at the very first opportunity, to see if it was on. I walked outside. Usually you hear house alarms going off, but they weren't going off. But that's because it was only 10 houses and it was a Friday evening, so most people were home and the house alarms were all turned off.
Yeah.
But yeah, then there was a parade of various different technicians and flashy lights and things that turned up to the home, none of which were medical services. They were just engineers and things, parking their vans, trying to fix a diesel generator to get it up and running to help the residents of the home across the way. But yeah, their diesel generator didn't kick in. That's interesting, isn't it, folks? I thought so too.
Well, it might be if your relative was in there and they were gasping for breath, then it would be interesting.
Well, yes, I suppose that could happen, but I'd feel sorry for them if they were in there, because the place is a hole, to use a Northern Irish term. It's pretty awful in there. It's falling down. It's dilapidated. Wreck and ruin.
And,
yeah. So we'll move into the feedback section, where we have some stuff that's been sent in by various different people, and we'll start with Ian Barton, because he has commented upon the fact that the SSD performance levels are going up. There's a new generation of micro SD cards that could help transfer an entire Blu-ray movie in less than 15 seconds, paving the way for the way that people record 8K and stream 8K and things like that. I thought of it from the other way around, and I looked into it from the point of view that the PCI Express values are going up. They've been moved up to version 4, and each time that happens, they double the speed at which you can transfer data from A to B.
Yeah.
And currently it's about 1 gigabit per second, and now they're moving it to 2 gigabits per second, because it's doubled, and I think that 1 doubles to 2, and then whenever we get PCI Express 5 coming along, I've done some calculations, and I reckon that it'll change from 2 to 4. So the next update will be a significant one, but it does mean a big difference if you've got an SD card, say for example, full of pictures and images and videos and things like that. Copying them across to your computer will be an awful lot faster, given these speed increases. Ted?
I don't know who would particularly benefit from this. I suppose if you were a professional photographer or something like that, then it might be really useful. But for the most of us, it probably won't make much difference at all. You just go and wait a bit longer for your transfer. But yes, I guess it could be. And he's talking about here 2 gigabits or bytes or whatever it is. We'll be in trouble for that. Is it bits or bytes?
I think it's bits.
Was it bits?
1024, yeah.
2 gigabits per second is doubling what it was before. You're quite right in saying it's doubling, and that was Ian's point, really. So I'm guessing that Ian must like to transfer stuff across. And also, it's micro SD cards. This is not SD cards, it's micro SD cards, which, is just phenomenal, isn't it? The size of your fingernail. Smaller than the size of your fingernail. And it's got all this power and storage and speed, and yeah, it is quite amazing, really, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm having a quick look at the article here, and they've referred to everything in megabytes and gigabytes. So
it's bytes, not bits. We'll be in trouble with Steve, yeah.
Yes. But we'll come back to Steve later on. Actually, I've got something to say.
Okay.
All right, EE rowing fees are going to be going up an eye-watering 150%, which is pretty scary if you think about it. Wow, yeah. I think the SNP will be all over this, because they love, storing up huge amounts of roaming costs. £11,000 over a week would be quite nice for them. But this is another example of EE somewhat profiteering over the Brexit stance, whereas other networks and things like that haven't discussed doing this yet. I know Vodafone haven't put anything through just yet, and I think Virgin and O2, they might be safest by not doing something like this, and they'll be able to become the dominant communication provider in the UK, because I imagine a lot of people will probably abandon ship. At least they're doing this at the end of the summer, if anything, after people are supposed to have gone away, and then people can prepare for next year.
Or they won't notice. They slipped it under the carpet.
They could do, but I'd like to think that given that this is everyone out of contract, essentially, if they push the prices up that high, well, no, it's not, because it's only roaming. Yeah, that's that point. Done. Right. Yeah, so it could be.
Yeah.
Hopefully it gets a bit more exposure, and if you're on EE, beware of this if you're going to France or Spain or Germany or somewhere outside of the UK.
So the roaming pass used to cost £10, and it's gone up twice, and it's now going to be £25. Mind you, if you can afford to go roaming across Europe and having lovely holidays and be on business trips, I'm sure £25 as opposed to £10 is not going to make a huge difference. But I do take the point. It is a outrageous percentage increase.
Yeah, I do wonder how that works here, because obviously we have the south of Ireland, which is in Europe, and I know Vodafone, because I do go across the border from time to time. My wife is actually crossing the border today. Vodafone have their zones, and Ireland is one of the zones in the A. Or it's in the A zone, which contains the UK. So passing over the border, you're not going to get hammered by this sort of thing. But I wonder, I haven't done my research to see exactly what EE are going to do to people who cross the border. But I imagine that we can't go back to those days where, being down on the border is going to cost people a fortune in roaming fees whenever they're actually within Northern Ireland. We can't do that. No. All right. Well, moving on to Adrian Brain. Hang on a second. Have we lost something from me? Oh, no, it's in the next section. Right, okay. Adrian Brain has written in about this, Sony's announcement of the A9 III. And Ted, I'm going to let you take lead on this, because I'm sure people are sick of me already.
I'm probably even sicker of me. I was watching the Friday Checkout last night, and Martin explains what's going on here with this camera very efficiently. It's to do with the shutter speed and the processing chip that Sony have put into this. And the way in which now to you and I, we're used to talking about curtain and curtain syncing and rear curtain sync and all of that, where when you take a photograph, the shutter opens, but the data is transmitted via the curtain as it flows down, and it goes down the way in a wave. And that's how it's always been, whether that's going onto film or onto a sensor. Traditionally, that's how it works, that you have a curtain and you sync with the curtain. And that's one of the reasons why the flash sync has been capped at unhelpful rates by cheaper equipment over the years. Sony have done something about this, and they've made this so that instead of having a curtain rolling down, it all just opens at once, like you would expect it to, probably. And it just opens all at once, which means they can get up to, get this, 1/80,000th of a second shutter speed.
That's quite fast.
It's incredible, isn't it? We were scrabbling around for like 1/250th of a second, or you thought that you were doing really well if you've got 1/500th of a second, but 1/80,000th of a second shutter speed, and it's all because there's no curtain basically, and it doesn't have to sync with the curtain. And Sony have built this into their new camera, and anyway, Martin, I'll link in the show notes to Martin's Friday Checkout, and the link will take you straight to the section in the checkout where it shows diagrams of explaining all that and what's going on. So yeah, good shout. The downside is it costs £6,000 for the body and £6,000 for the cheapest lens to go with it.
Ooh, right. Oh, that's a quality piece of gear, absolutely. It's very exciting, and obviously this is the first one to hit the market with this technology, so we can only hesitate to wait for, 6 years or something for this to be commonplace and them to put it in the new Google Pixel.
Indeed. The Bion's XR processor, it's called apparently.
Wow. Yeah, well, I'm sure paparazzi will love that. Be able to get some nice pictures of Harry and Meghan frolicking in the sun.
Or Anna
All right, moving into... yes.
Sorry.
Yes. News, Mews and Views. We're going to tackle some of the interesting news things. I'm going to stay with Ted, actually, because I've got a funny feeling you're going to have some strong opinions on this, because the new law, which means that in the EU, tech manufacturers are going to have to use a common charger, could mean the end of the DSLR. Why is that, Mr. Ted?
Right, okay, this is a bit confusing because apparently the EU rules have said that equipment going forward has to have USB-C on it. So if you're buying something new, even if supposing you're a retailer and you've got DSLR cameras which are on your shelves from before the rules come in, you then will not be allowed to sell them. And what they're saying is that it's not possible to take all that stock back to the likes of Canon and Nikon and change them all. Now, to be a USB-C. So they would overnight, in the EU anyway, become completely useless. They'd have to sell all their cameras in the Far East and America. So what the article is saying from Petapixel is basically this is another nail in the coffin of DSLR bodies, because even though the compact camera movement is now not compact. What's it called? The
portable.
The cameras that most people are buying now, which are not SLRs. I can't think of the phrase.
Compact cameras will do. Bridge cameras, yeah.
The ones that are all but DSLRs, but they're not really. Yeah, I can't think. Oh, that's just terrible, isn't it? You look it up for me. So the ones that are coming out with they have all moved across to USB-C, so that's no problem. But the way in which DSLRs are made, it makes it very, very difficult to put USB-C in them, apparently. But according to those people that know about these things and make these cameras, and so yeah, it's the end of DSLRs in the EU. It seems that's basically what the story's about. I wish I could remember the name of the. What are they called? Well,
it's a bit of a pain in the ass because it's not even that the manufacturers or the camera shops can even have a fire sale, really.
No,
I suppose
no.
Unless they were to do it right now today. Well, what date is this coming in?
December the 24th.
24? Yeah. Oh, right. Okay, so there is a year. So they've got a year to get rid of all their stock.
Yeah. But they can't make any new ones, apparently. That's what they're saying. They can't make any new ones because technically it's not possible to put USB-C in DSLRs. Yeah. So everyone is moving across to these other types of camera. I keep thinking of compact. Something beginning with a C. No, not that.
Well, yeah. I'm sure
compact system cameras, isn't it?
It's not ringing a bell. No.
Okay.
I would have Googled and looked it up, but I was too busy listening to you, actually, because I was quite intrigued to see if you had a theory of what they could do. Because there is talk of, say, for example, the battery actually having USB Type-C built into it, or USB battery chargers, and there not being an actual charger built into the camera itself. Some cameras, you can plug in via micro USB and charge it, or have a proprietary connection. But yeah, they're saying that it's not possible to do this with DSLRs, and that might be bollocks. They might be just trying to twist the arm of the EU, because you see, initially, apparently, they said that stock that had already been made would be exempt from it, and suddenly they've turned their tail on that, and they said that no, they're not going to be exempt from it. They've got to comply. So that's what all the hoo-ha's about, really. The EU have done the dirty on them. I wonder what the actual sales figures are for DSLRs these days. I know they're somewhat declining because of other options, and the likes of, say, an iPhone can still capture an entirely printable photograph in a magazine or a newspaper, as they do so frequently. So would camera manufacturers just be going, well, fair enough, we'll shut down that area of R&D, we'll shut down that area of manufacturing, and just focus on these? Good pun there.
I still can't find it. I'm now Googling it myself.
It's going to bother you for the rest of the show.
Cameras which replaced SLR. Come on. Mirrorless. Of
course.
Right, okay. That's enough of that. We found it.
Well, it means that there's going to be... was there an upcoming shortage of mirrors, perhaps?
When they invented mirrorless.
Yeah, they can shut down the mirror mines in Russia. All right, well, we'll move on to Google. Google Registry is launching, and this is a bit of a waste of time, I have to say, but ing domains, that's .ing, so where you have techaddicts.uk, shameless plug, you have techaddicts.ing. Doesn't exist, but yeah. Ted, I'll let you take this because you've got a rather filthy mouth.
Well, the obvious implications of this are the porn industry that are going to be all over this by registering things like wanking or pissing or fiddling or just
fiddling.
Just anything. You can imagine the connotations. But coming out of the gutter, what would you do if you had a business that was going to camera making or I mean the opportunities are fairly endless if you can put ing at the end of a word and make it into a domain, aren't they?
Well, they are, yeah. They've given some examples of Canva has their Design Anything website called design.ing. And then there's sketch ideas on Canva as well, which is draw.ing.
Yeah, yeah.
Cheap flights can be found at go.ing.
The thing is that nobody uses domain names these days anyway, do they? You just go to Google and look up what you want to look up. You don't need to know what URLs are anymore, I find. I very rarely actually type a whole URL in.
No, that and also there's still basic business suicide is having a domain that isn't .com.
Yeah.
If you have anything, if you want to be taken seriously, you have to have the .com. And I know that's becoming increasingly difficult to have, and even 3 words .com is disappearing at a rapid rate and trying to be resold. But actually, this is why we're coming back to Steve Litchfield, because I went to get the projector room the other day, and I started typing in Steve Litchfield, and I automatically actually typed .co.uk. and pressed enter, and a gentleman who was not Steve Litchfield turned up.
Yeah.
And I had a look through his website as well and went, he's not a million miles away from the Steve Litchfield we know and love, but he's not the same person. So yeah, but yeah, the .com for Steve Litchfield then.
Yeah, .com. I think I too tend to agree with you. You expect proper organisations and businesses and what have you to be .com. Yeah.
Yeah, and selling a .ing address is, I suppose this is probably, if you go out and quickly get yourself something obvious like wanking.com, people are going to be asking you for it, and you're going to be able to trade it off, and if you register them all as quickly as possible, all the lewd ones, I'm sure you'll get various different outfits making you decent offers for them, because it is incredibly catchy for that particular industry and for sort of creative industries as well.
Yeah,
where they're making and adapting and any word ending in ing. Yeah, you could make a business around that.
Indeed. How
Indeeding.
right you are. Indeeding, yes.
Okay, Sudar Pichai has finally explained some of the reasons why some Android phones get lots of updates and others don't. And this is an interesting one, Ted. Do you know the reason? Do you want to explain it in a nutshell?
Well, basically, what people didn't know was that at the moment, what happens is that Google financially incentivize OEMs that making phones to keep them up to date by giving them a share of the advertising revenue that comes through to Google back to them to keep their phones up to date. And it seems that no one actually knew that they did that. At least nobody that is out in the world. I'm sure they all know in Google what they're doing. And so this, I mean, if we take Motorola as the example for this, it fits perfectly into this category. So Motorola are sitting there. We complain relentlessly about them not keeping phones up to date. There's updates are late if they ever come, and they're just terrible at it. They're getting a bit better now, but they were before. And this fits perfectly in with the model. Really, is that they've decided. Motorola clearly have taken the decision to say, well, we'll trade in that money that Google are going to send our way by keeping security up to date and OS updates coming. We'll write that money off because we actually think we can make more money by making new models and new devices, which when they're new and they will be up to date, will get that income from Google. So it's a bit of a complex issue, but this came out from Sundar Pichai was giving testimony in a law case, a legal thing, an antitrust trial apparently, and this is when it all came out. And so, yes, right. Where you've got an organisation that you complain about, like Motorola, who are not keeping things up to date, that probably, it would appear, is the reason. They have taken a business decision to say, we don't want Google's advertising money, because if we do, we're going to have to put all that money, loads of that money, into R&D to keep our phones up to date. We'll just make new ones, and then they will be up to date, and those are the ones that we'll give our attention to, and then we'll get the revenue from Google for those ones and write off the old ones. And it fits perfectly what we know about Motorola, doesn't it?
It does, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But then sometimes... Well, do we still get regional updates as well, where you might get one particular phone that's sold particularly well in an area getting an update? I do remember it happening years ago, where you'd be annoyed that the phone you've got, if you had been in America, you probably would have got an update, but then that might have come from the actual network distributor, if it was like a CDMA phone or something bought through the network.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. I wonder how the operators fit into this when they're... Yeah, because they can easily block the process of updates, can't they? I hadn't thought about that one. Good point. And this article doesn't cover that bit.
All right. Well, okay. Well, we won't dwell on it too long because then people will know that was just a lucky one. Right. Samsung. We'll go with the Hardline for the hardware because there's some new exciting things. And one which is particularly good news that makes you feel a wee bit better. Well, makes me feel a wee bit better about myself. Samsung are launching a $99 Creator Edition S Pen. But like the Apple Pencil, it's a wee bit of a better pen to be able to use with your tablet. Had you not found the one that comes with it to be particularly comfortable or particularly good at what you're doing? So if you are a creator and looking for that more, I don't know, professional or a better environment, then this might be something that you need to look into. Ted, how often?
Well, I think one of the things that they're pushing here is the fact that it's bigger and fatter and more like a pen, more like the Apple Pencil is. And so people that are drawing for a living with it will find that it's easier to use. But actually, if you drill down to the data, what they're saying is that the technology behind it is not anything like as good as the S Pens that we've got used to having with our flagship devices. For example, there's no air commands, there's no battery in it, so you don't get any of those air swipe stuffs going on. Or it seems like it's like back to basics, but they've redesigned the basic version of the S Pen in order to be more like the Apple Pencil, more easy to use for drawing and appealing to professionals. So, yeah, probably not for the likes of us, I'd imagine.
Well, initially whenever I saw it, I was thinking, right, well, they've taken the design of the S Pen that came with the Tab S4, wasn't it, I think?
Okay. I don't remember that.
Which it was a much bigger pen that didn't actually fit anywhere into the device or the cradle that came with it. I think it was the first one that you could magnetically attach to the side, but it was a much bigger pen and the same design as this. And it had a button on it as well, and I think it did do most of the the swipes things, but I hadn't noticed that it doesn't have the air commands. And I just figured that they'd maybe just souped up that old one, because the one that you get with it is fairly comfortable for doing the odd little bit here and there, but you wouldn't want to sit and have to write notes during a lecture or draw an entire recreation of Mona Lisa's knockers with this in fine detail.
I think it's all right. I tend to agree with you. I've got it in my hand now, and I think it's okay. I'm not sure what they're up to, really. Perhaps they're just trying to make it look Apple-ish. They've made it white.
What do you have in your hand at the moment?
The not the S4. The pen that came with my S8 tab, my Tab S8, and I think that's well big enough, John.
I think it is, but after a while, I have tried to use it in the past for some things, and it just is a wee bit too small for longer periods, so I've actually given up using it and gone back to a traditional pen and paper, because if you use a pen on paper, you can achieve the same thing. This is fatter, so it would be much more comfortable in certain people's hands. I'm not saying everyone's hands. You and I both have bigger hands than Lego men, so we would probably do better with this than we would with the S Pen for prolonged periods of time, or if we want that better idea. But I think this is a good idea, and it's good that that you have the option and you're not just confined to the one that comes with it, because I know a lot of people did like that S Pen that came with the S4.
Oh yeah,
and they were a bit pissed whenever the S6 came along and it didn't have that. It had basically the one from the Note, but without. Well, it was a lot smaller. It was around the same size as the one from the Note.
I'm looking at a picture now of the S4, and I see what you mean. It is a bigger pen, and it's in a kind of silo on the side of the case. So maybe it wasn't magnetic, but it's got a little kind of pouch on the side. It's quite hard to describe, but when I saw it, I remembered, and I have seen that, yeah.
Really? I don't remember having a pouch, but I don't remember the S4 terribly well. Oh, yes, that's right. Yeah, it slipped through. It was just a loop, a leather or plasticky loop. Yeah. Right, okay. And then the S6 was the first one that magnetically...
Right.
Oh, no, yes, that's right. It was like a lid. It was like a lid to a Sharpie glued onto the side of the case, and you pushed it up and it clicked in.
Yeah.
And it would wobble about and fall out. And
yeah. Anyway, it was. You're right. It's a bigger pen.
Aye. So they redesigned that and relaunched it. They must have had a bunch sitting around and thought, what are we going to do?
And painted them white. This will get the Apple crowd across to Samsung.
Get a little load of Tipex or liquid paper for the mistake. Okay, Samsung are going to launch the Tab Active 5 tablet in early 2024. This is one for, I don't know, runners or something. It's the Tab Active Pro, or a Tab Active 4 Pro was released a year ago, and it seemed to be, well, obviously proved quite popular because it was more of a rugged tablet that you could take onto a building site and show off to all your builder friends, and they'll probably think you're a bit of a wally. So now they've done the Tab Active 5, which is going to be even better. It's got a new battery in the device that it will be user replaceable. Hey, but then I think devices are going to have to be going forward, given the EU ruling.
Yeah,
isn't that right?
I'm looking at the Active 4 specs, and that had a removable battery as well. But unfortunately, I can't get to a comparison between the old and the new, because this Active 5 really is not out there yet. We don't know much about it, only speculation. But
it isn't even art, stolen artwork or anything, or.
No, it's all to do. You're right, ruggedness, and I always quite fancied one of these, and it does decks as well, which was a drawing point. Yeah. So you've got all the good stuff, but it's in this kind of rugged, military quality case that you can chuck off a cliff and it will survive. Yeah, nice.
Ooh, I don't know if you heard that, did you?
No.
I think that was the Maroons.
The what?
Listening carefully. The Maroons.
What are Maroons?
Flares being let off by a boat. There wasn't one that came a couple of seconds later, so no, maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was just someone throwing something in a skip. Or the neighbour using the bin next door. So a little less dramatic, I suppose.
Yes.
Maroons were always exciting. You don't hear the Maroons very often anymore. All right, staying with Samsung, we are going to be getting the Galaxy Tab S9 FE, and it's been reviewed by 9 to 5 Google, and they love it.
Yeah,
do you love it, Ted?
Well, one of their staff do. It's interesting to see the differences between the Tab S9 FE and the S9 Standard, and the difference in money, which is, it looks like being about almost half, like double the money for the other one. And you've got to kind of just check out with yourself, I suppose, what you get for doubling your money. And there's the point they're making in this thing is not a lot. Now, I've told you before about my LCD display. If Samsung do the LCD display well, like they did on the Tab S8 here, it's just superb. It's indistinguishable almost from an AMOLED, and that's one of the big things that they're dropping to go into the FE, but I maintain that that's really, really good anyway, so no problem there. There's an Exynos 1380 chipset as opposed to the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 chipset, so some people that are heavily into gaming or whatever might, or rendering video on their tablet, I suppose they might complain about that. And apart from that, you'd have to look at the specs for yourself and say, do I want to pay double the money? Because they're concluding in this article, certainly, that most people really won't need to. And be careful what you decide and what you spend your money on.
Well, yeah. But this is quite a competitive bundle. I'm having a look at it right now on Samsung's website, because Christmas is coming and my son wants a new tablet. He likes the look of my tablet and my wife's tablet, which are Samsung high-end models, and you can get this down to $399 for the Galaxy Tab S9 FE.
Oh, right.
And then trade in any working tablet, which is a problem. Yeah, they're only going to give you 50 quid, even if you were to try and trade in the Galaxy Tab S8. You're only going to get 50 quid off the top. And then you can spread that across, and it's £16 a month over 24 months. That's pretty good value for anyone who just wants a wee tablet that's good to play around with or gift their child. 90%
of the features of the S9. So they're kind of saying in their summary here. The S Pen is there. Has it got DeX? Oh, maybe it hasn't got DeX. Hang on a minute.
Ooh.
I don't see DeX mentioned. It is typically with Samsung one of the things they just lop out so that people will buy the more expensive one if they want that kind of thing. Yeah, maybe DeX is missing. Boo.
Yeah, I'm just having a look at the screenshots here to see if it's. Oh no, it is. It's there.
It's
DeX is in the notification shade when you pull it down.
Ah, whoa!
The third picture down, fourth picture down, not including the wee, including the collage. Yeah, where the shows you the notification shade. Yes, so DeX is on there. Right. Well, this is I think this is a good solution for most people, and they would be right. This is a very attractive tablet for anyone who's looking one.
Oh, yeah, you're right. DeX is there. I bet it's wireless only, though, not wired.
See, folks, he didn't believe me. He had to go and check himself.
Yeah.
That's what I have to deal with in this show.
Yeah. Anyway.
And in life.
Yes. Really good value for money, though, I think. That's a real contender, isn't it? So, yeah, your family will be very well off.
Well, there is also the option of going for the Doogee T30 Ultra, or the T20 Ultra, or the T20 Mini Pro. That's quite a collection of little tablets there that we probably won't get here too easily in the UK. But they are based around, they've got entry-level specs with a MediaTek Helio G99 chipset and come with Android 13. The T30 Ultra has an 11-inch IPS LCD display, with 12 gigabytes of RAM and 256 gigabytes of storage. That's only going to be £245. Wow, and you can get it from their online store, which doesn't work. Something went wrong. Store is unavailable. Right, okay. The T20 Ultra comes with the larger 12-inch LCD display and stuff inside it, and it's coming on the 11th of November, which is yesterday. Cameras and things. The T20 Mini Pro, which is the interesting one, I think, features an 8.4-inch LCD display with full HD plus resolution, Widevine L1. It's amusing how they put that in the spec straight away. TUV SUD blue light certification, and a stylus. The tablet is equipped with unspecified 8-core chipset and a 1.6 gigahertz, clocked at 1.6 gigahertz and 256 gigabytes of storage with a 5060 milliamp hour battery, 5 megapixel camera, 13 megapixel rear shooter, and available from November 11th. No price on that, unfortunately, but I think that mini one sounds pretty darn good.
It's a nice little size, isn't it? And someone's using an Apple Pencil with it.
So they are. Well, is it? It's got a rubber on the end.
No, actually, I don't think it is. But it's interesting following our previous discussion about the S Pen. But we on PSC last night, Adrian Brain, our guest, who he's bought a Doogie. Now, what is it? An S100 Pro or something. And it's like this phone that's built like a tank. It's got a 22,000 milliamp hour battery in it. And he's actually bought it for under 300 quid. And he was explaining that online store that you're linking to there we think is probably in Spain. So it's an EU store that you have to get this stuff from. Well, I'm sure that Amazon will stock it or get it from there for you. But I agree with you. I think that little the smaller tablet size is really nice. My mum still loves her Nokia T10 and much prefers it to the bigger devices. So I'm with you on that. You just have to trust the likes of Doogie going forward, I suppose.
Yeah, I'm on their website now, and I can see they're advertising it, but yeah, you can't buy it now. That's where something goes wrong. So perhaps the listing isn't fully there. Oh, it's on AliExpress as well, but I can't click through to that because ad blockers don't like it. And the Doogie, is it Doogie or Doogie?
Who knows?
G-E-E would be G, like golly G.
Oh, hang on a minute. The T30 Pro is available on Amazon UK. Is that the same thing? T30.
That's different. That's not one of these.
Is it? Oh, no, that's the Ultra. We're talking about here about the Ultra, aren't we? No, only the Mini Pro and the Ultra, not the... Right, okay, forget it. Right, carry on.
T20. I'll search as well. There's the T20 Mini. It's £109. 9 gigabytes of RAM. 128 gigabytes of storage in Android 13. Yeah. 9 gigabytes of RAM. That's they're dealing with stuff here.
Is that smart? Is that Doogie website in Spain? Is it all in Spanish?
No, it's on Amazon.co.uk.
Oh, I see. You're on Amazon. Okay.
Or you can buy it for over 6 months, £8 and 99p.
Yeah.
£18 and 99p. Sorry, yeah, that'll make more sense.
Okay,
but yeah, quite why it's 9 gigabytes. Hang on a second. 4 plus 5 gigabytes of RAM. Okay, it's not just a misprint. Yeah, there's
5 gigabytes of RAM. Mind you, that phone that Adrian was talking about last night, that they were claiming it had 20 gigabytes of RAM, and when you drilled down to it, it was actually 12, but you could switch over the RAM in settings to get another 8.
Right, you could turn them on manually whenever you needed them, or
you use the RAM, you use your storage instead of the RAM, and they were just claiming that it was 20 gigs.
That sounds like the Amstrad 472, folks. Look at that. CPC 472.
Okay.
Wonderful. Right. Amazon is getting ready to ditch Android for its Fire hardware. And I've been following a guy on YouTube. Oh, I can't remember his name. I think I've spoken of him before, and I tried to remember his name. Free Tech, I think is this channel is called, and he does an awful lot about Amazon Fire Sticks, and the things that you can do with Amazon Fire Sticks, the ability to be able to install apps and things like that, and how Amazon are reaching in and changing things, and stuff is being shut down and stuff is being removed forcibly. So Amazon's doing some weird things with their hardware at the moment, and this is the most recent rumour, which sees that they might be getting rid of Android altogether, which would probably alienate their entire customer base. Yeah. Instead, they'll be going with a Fire OS in their smart home devices. Ted, have you ever heard of Fire OS? I believe they've used it on devices in the past.
Fire OS is what they use at the moment, I think. That's what their fork of Android is called. The new thing here is called Vega, or Vega, depending on what part of the world you come from. And this is the Linux-based platform that they reckon is going to replace Android, a bit like Chrome OS, I suppose. You know, the Google not using Android for Chromebooks, using their own, going off their own way on another fork of Linux. But I agree with you. I think that they're going to just completely alienate everyone. But they're obviously so confident that so many people are locked into Android and are using the locked into Amazon and are using the Amazon Home stuff and are just on board with what Amazon are doing, that they'll go with it. And they might argue that no one will even notice. It is really annoying when you use Fire OS on any Android Amazon device that you've got this kind of dance to play to get to the Google Play Store. You know, maybe it would be better if they just do this and get away completely from Android, because it's a bit tedious as it is.
Well, I suppose if you think about it, what Amazon have done over the years, and they have sort of kept people away from, as much as they can, kept people away from the Play Store, so that they don't have to worry about going forward. You know, anyone who has stuff installed on their Fire OS device and then suddenly loses it whenever the next update comes, or a future update comes with Vega on it, and then suddenly lose everything that they had installed there, they'll be able to say, look, we don't endorse Google Play on this device, so you're best not going down that route, because you'll lose everything. We provide everything through our own Amazon App Store, whatever it's called. Remember Amazon Underground?
Yeah, the Amazon, I think it is called the App Store. It would just be like buying a Chinese phone, really, wouldn't it? It'd be like buying a Huawei or something, a Huawei tablet. And just getting on board with their software, and although the Harmony OS is a move away, but apparently the back end is still Android, so maybe that is different.
But it is going to mean that it's going to be totally controlled by Amazon, and it's not going to be very easy for people to be able to shoehorn stuff on in the future, because obviously, as I was saying about your man from Free Tech, he's constantly painting a picture about how Amazon are battling with illegal streaming on their devices and trying to get people to stop and to move back over to the various platforms, and then they're losing stuff, and then they're having to this whole wrangle, and I think we're going to be coming back to it later on, about Google and Apple demanding 30% of all purchases being made. Amazon don't allow you to be able to purchase movies on Amazon Prime through the Amazon apps on your Android device, because they have to give 30% of the sale to Google or Apple. Yeah. So this will allow them to be able to have free reign over all their stuff. So I think there are pros and cons here, but obviously those who prefer to get their content from nefarious sources and have options are going to be losing out here, and will probably be better off going to something like Roku or one of the other platforms. We have a wee one for sale in the bargain basement if you want to stay tuned for that later on in the show.
Indeed.
So we'll see what happens here, and we'll keep our nose to the ground and ears pricked up and eyes on the screens, and I'm going to move on.
Nosy grindstone.
Okay, Next up is, where are we? Humane's AI Pin is a screenless, wearable smartphone that's straight out of Black Mirror. Ted, what is this nonsense?
I'm going to link to Martin again, the Friday checkout. I do recommend people watch that. Each Friday, Martin does a roundup of tech news, and it's really ever so engaging, and he does it ever so well. He explains in this, which we'll link to in the show notes, about what's going on here. This company called Humane has decided to develop this thing they're calling an AI pin, which essentially is a GPT device, or a phone that you pin to your lapel. It's got a camera in it, it's got a microphone in it, and there's no screen or there's no keyboard, there's no way in which you can interact with this thing except by voice. So you pin this thing to your lapel, and it does all the stuff that you need to do in the same way as you might expect from Siri or the Google Assistant or whatever. But it just does everything for you and it's based on the Chat GPT engine. If you want to interact with it in terms of touching anything, you need to let the projector that's built into it shine its projection onto some surface in front of you, and then you can interact with it cleverly, it would seem, by if you project it onto your hand, you can then see what's going on or interact with it on your hand by finger motions, as I understand it. The thing that Martin was saying is that this is all a bit of a nonsense, really, because all it is a phone on your lapel, and they're charging $699 for it, and then you've got, on top of that, you've got to pay $24 a month in order to use the service, when actually there's nothing inside it that is any different, really, apart from the projection bit and the talking bit, to having Chat GPT installed on your phone or any other device. So that was his conclusion, anyway. And yeah, it's an interesting, attempt at something different and something wearable. But I'm not sure where it's going, really.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I to be honest, I think it's one of these gimmicks that we probably talk about here, and we'll never hear of again.
Yeah, probably.
There's countless ones. I think this has been tried in the past as well. I seem to remember something before which did this, and it projected what you needed maybe onto the desk. I can't quite remember, but yeah, there was something like this before. Yeah, at least there's a little area that you could write your name underneath where the cameras are, so you could say, "Hello, my name is Gareth." Under there, and people can go, and it'll be more interesting for people that way.
Yeah. Projection is quite good fun.
It is, yes. Anchor, we're moving into Anchor because they've got a new Soundcore AeroFit Pro, which is an open-air headphone, or earphone really, that ensures clear ears in traffic and stuff like that, because far too many people are getting hit by cars, and I'm sure people who drive know very well the perils of people with their AirPods in, just walking across the road like they own the bloody place. So they're going to be launching their first open ear headphone to the market fairly soon with two products. There's actually the AeroFit and the AeroFit Pro, so there are two different ones. Do you know the difference between them there, Ted? Do you?
No. One of them, well, the AeroFit Pro seems to come with a cable that you can put round the back of your head if you really think that they're going to fall out. But I can't see. Is that the only difference, really? I can't see. I can't see any problem with these at all, and I can't imagine that they're going to fall off your ears, because they've got a big thing round the back that keeps them on your ear. The only question I had about these was really about wearing glasses and what's going to happen for people like me that needs to wear... Do you wear glasses?
No.
People like me that wear glasses, I'm not sure how that will fit round the back of the ear, but someone in the group, in the MeWe group, did actually say that they've got a similar product and they wear glasses and it's not really a problem. I really fancy these, whether it's the Pro or the non-Pro. As I say, I can't really see the difference. There's other products that are similar to this, like the Open Rock stuff already, but, you know, I just have have a kind of level of confidence in Soundcore. Whenever I buy anything from Soundcore or Anchor, it always seems to be really well done and good quality. And I would be all over this. And I do, as much as I have earbuds and earphones and all the rest of it, they're not 100% reliably sitting in my ears or on my ears. And this will make sure that it stays where it's supposed to be. I really fancy these, and I want some. Unfortunately, they're only available in the USA for now, and they won't send them to the UK. But eventually, they'll get them in the UK stores. I want some.
Yeah. Well, it's important to point out that these aren't like bone conducting earphones that we've seen in the past. They actually sit in front of the ear's opening and pushes sound in that way.
Yeah.
So I do wonder how much ear or sound leakage there might be, because it just my wife was saying the other day that she was away for a run the other morning and she pushed her earphone in a wee bit too hard, and now I think she's got an infection or something. She's hurting the inside of her ear from those in-ear noise cancelling ones. So maybe something like this would work as well, and also because it can hang on to your ear, it's much more comfortable for folks to use. But they look quite good. But where you wear your glasses, you'd prefer just to put one headphone in, don't you?
If I'm not listening to... If I don't want the huge effect of stereo, I will put one in, yeah. What's that got to do with glasses?
So you could just put one on and then break the leg off your glasses and then just go one leg. There you go. Problem solved.
Absolutely. But if you look at the... if you zoom in on one of the pictures in this website link here, you can see that they've put the speaker just where it should be, and the... you're right, that faces the ear, and I'm okay with that. I don't need... If I want to have active noise cancellation, I'll put my posh Sony headphones on. I don't need ANC day in, day out. And you're quite right, when you're running or whatever, you want to hear what's going on around you, don't you? Not that I go running.
Yeah, you do. And most of them come with a sort of transparency mode anyway. I use transparency mode quite a lot. Yeah. I find it quite effective when I'm walking around the big smoke of Belfast. And I can hear people yelling at me, "Yo, wanker!"
Oh, here we go. Here we go. Look, the Aerofit are equipped with 14mm drivers, but the Pro version is 16.2mm. So perhaps the Pro ones are more powerful and bigger and make a better sound.
Well, speaking of making things better, Google looks to be trying to make their watch interface better, because it's a pain in the ass at the moment. Google is making it easier for you to manage your apps across multiple devices, including Wear OS. Ted, you are currently using a Wear OS watch at the moment. Have you decided to drive over it in a car because you're so frustrated and infuriated by interacting with it, or are you excited by the fact that it could be getting a bit of a refresh?
This refresh is actually a very simple one. And this should have really been in the Google section of the show, not here. But anyway, we'll plough on now we're here. My fault, that is, incidentally. The only thing they're adding here is that you'll be able to uninstall apps on the phone or other connected devices. At the moment, you can go to the Play Store on your phone and install apps remotely on the phone, and it'll send it to the watch, but you can't uninstall them from the phone. And this change is going to make sure that you can use the phone to also uninstall apps on the watch. So it's quite a simple change, really. Nothing to kind of write home about, but I think that's really helpful moving forward. A nice little change.
It does. It sounds like we'll wait until we see and how much further we go. Because these sorts of things we should have had years ago. Really, they've been discussing these sorts of things, and interactivity between all three levels of platform. But Google were never quite happy enough to be able to settle on both phone and tablet, let alone phone, tablet, and watch. But now they are making all three of them. They're starting to go, oh well, we could try and get them all working off the same page. That'd be great, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Sharing notifications. And, that'd be great.
And that's where the Play Store should come in. And that's what they're realising. I think you're right. They're realising that if they make these changes to the Play Store, The update instantly is version 38.3, so watch out for it. Watch out for it if you're wanting to uninstall apps on your watch via your phone. As I say, it's a little change, but it's going in the right direction.
Aye. Right, Phone Zone. HMD are preparing to move forward with a new smartphone brand, or a separate smartphone brand. So we're going to see Nokia, and we're going to see what?
HMD. So the HMD is the company who took over Nokia, or took over. Who knows what happened? They've got a joint pedigree anyway. But the thing is that when the licensing from HMD ran out with Nokia, HMD decided a little while ago that, right, we're going to make our own phones now. We don't have to badge them Nokia anymore. So Nokia Mobile have gone off on their own to do whatever they do. HMD have decided to do what they do. And the net result is, guess what? They're taking this very same phones that Nokia have been pushing out, and they're putting HMD on the back, and it's the same thing. So, I don't know, I suppose it's appeasing shareholders somewhere, and they don't have to share money with certain people to do with Nokia, and, they think that they're going to make some money out of it. But ultimately, you're going to go to Amazon to look for a phone like this, and you'll see exactly the same phone with Nokia on one and HMD on the other one, and I guess you buy the cheapest one because it looks like they're going to be the same.
But then, how many people are actually going to do that? Not a lot of people are going to be able to link the two companies together and go, well, one owns the other, so let's just go with the HMD if it's a wee bit cheaper or something.
Yeah.
So everyone will go for the Nokia one because it's the more recognisable brand, and HMD will go, hang on, we haven't sold any of these and we wasted the ink.
Yeah. There are clearly implications and connotations going forward. But yeah, HMD. Well, who knows? In 10 years' time, HMD might be as clear on the marketplace as Nokia is now, or even Samsung. I guess they're hoping.
But then in the playground as well, if you were to go, oh, right, the HMD one is a wee bit cheaper than the Nokia one, you buy that for little Timmy and you give it to him to go off to school, and the kids in the playground are going, oh, you're using some HMD brand. It's like, well, it's not. It's Nokia. I heard. No. And he's going to have to go and get, going to have to go onto Wikipedia and present evidence to be able to set this down, that this is actually the same thing as Nokia. And in schoolyards, that can be very difficult because there's no presentation software to be able to do. There's no projectors. There's no printers to be able to print this out. There's no barristers to be able to fight this. You know, it's terrible. And then, think about the kids.
And then poor Timmy will get a smack in the mouth.
Yes. Right. Galaxy Fold 6 could make S Pen cases a thing of the past.
Hurrah!
What does that mean? I don't remember seeing this one earlier. Did you have to say?
Well, what they're talking about is that they're going to try and integrate the S Pen into the upcoming new version of their Fold device, and there's been some kind of leaked diagrams and schematics of how that might happen and what they might do. That from putting something on the back of one side of it to putting something on the actual side, like we just saw on the Tab S4, for example. And however they're going to do it, it's very difficult to put a silo into it because of space restraints, unless they make the device actually wider, which other people have done, as we know. There's a lovely photograph of a blue. You see that one of the blue one in tent mode, and they've made it. They've obviously rendered that picture up, and it looks like it could fit in the edge of the device really, really nicely. I think personally, and I shall finish with this, that somebody somewhere down the line will actually work out a way of putting it into the hinge so that the pen will go down the middle of the back somehow and it will sit in the middle. Now, I know you're going to say that will kind of stick out, it'll make the screen stick out, but I think that there's a way of doing that. And if the pen was down the middle at the back somehow, I think that would work really well. Your turn.
No, I think that's fine. I have a little diary and work with a pencil and an elastic band. So they could, I could patent that, couldn't I? And see if they'll take that over. Make myself some coin.
Well, I do like the way that render has come out, that blue one. I think that it looks just like the S23 Ultra, and except that it's in a fold, and that would be the perfect solution. Put it in that corner there, that'd be great. But they reckon they haven't got space to do that.
Yeah. See, I haven't thought this through either, because sometimes you can't lose the elastic band.
Yeah.
And then you're scuppered.
Yeah.
You have to rely on luck until you get to a place where there is an elastic band to be able to replace it. Sometimes the elastic band can also go through usage. It can snap if you don't use a quality elastic band. And I'd like to think that Samsung would be producing quality elastic bands for their £1,000 plus devices.
One would hope so.
We'll have to work on this.
Yeah. Right.
Anyway, in the meantime, Samsung Galaxy S24 can translate phone calls in real time thanks to Galaxy AI. They're not calling it Bixby AI, which is weird. I thought they would have. That would have been great. But they'll be able to transcribe your phone calls into text, which they can send to you. And you can have a proper transcript of everything that's happened. Isn't that nice?
I think Galaxy AI has already been outdated, hasn't it? I think wasn't there an announcement and they called it Gauss AI or something? Was it
Really?
GAUSS AI? Is that right? Gauss AI? Yeah. Oh no, hang on a minute. Yeah, it is. It's Samsung Gauss.
Oh yeah.
And I think that this article is 3 days out of date, and it's not Galaxy AI anymore. Anyway, the point is, yes, you're right. So if you're on a phone call, they reckon that in this AI-powered S24, you can do this AI live translating of calls. So if you're on a telephone call with someone, much like you can with, the way in which Pixels work with call screening, it will just do a whole translation and give you in text or audio, and you can save it and do what you like with it afterwards. I think that's a great idea, don't you?
Suppose. Yeah. I do see legal problems down the line, but why not? I'm on Samsung's Mobile Press. I can't see a press release saying that they've done that. Just to confirm it.
I'll give you an example.
Gauss AI.
I'll give you an example. Stand by for my example while you're still looking for that. Is that my dad hates typing, and I try to encourage him to use email with me, because then you've got a record of what's been said and you can refer back to it later, blah, blah, blah. But no, if I ever send him an email, he just phones me back. And so what he says to me, there's no record of anywhere. And it's, I just like to have a record of what's been said. Now, if I had that, when he phones me back, I could just then get a record of it and keep it, and that would be done. But then I'm kind of pedantic, I suppose. Right, have you found it?
Yes, I have, yes.
Spill the beans.
Gauss AI.
Right.
No, I'm not reading the whole press release. It's not on their traditional press release, but there's a number of echoed chambers that are saying it, and The Verge is covered as well, so it must be true.
Right.
Gauss AI sounds like something for the doctor to get treated.
Galaxy AI would be much better, wouldn't it? I do agree.
Yeah, you know what you're dealing with. Or maybe while it's in beta, it's been called Samsung Gauss Language. Well, there's Samsung Gauss Language, Samsung Gauss Code, and then Samsung Gauss Image.
Oh no, hang on a minute. Gauss is a third-party company. Oh yeah, Gauss is a company who have developed this, and Samsung are...
Gauss is the tech giant's research unit of Samsung Research, and consists of those three tools.
The world's largest smartphone maker also unveiled its generative AI model dubbed Samsung Gauss at an event in Korea this week. Developed by Samsung Research, the AI model can generate text, image and code. Besides smartphone, it wants to integrate Gauss into its other products and services. So, But if you look up Gauss on Google, it comes to a third-party company that I reckon that Samsung have got into bed with personally. But anyway, we can agree to differ.
They've got Samsung Gauss. This is an STD, is it? Gotcha. Well, no, if you Google Samsung Gauss, you get loads of stuff. We're going to shut up about Samsung Gauss now. That's the last thing people want to hear about. Move on to Oppo Find N3 and the N3 Flip, which has been certified to fold a reliable 1 million times. You heard it here, and you heard it here, but 9th time maybe. Yeah, some poor sod somewhere has had to fold these devices over 600,000 times, and they've rounded that up to 1 million. Ain't that great?
Have they? Is that what has happened? Really? It would. Oh no, hang on.
Oppo launched.
They had previously claimed that it would withstand 600,000 volts, but now they're almost doubling that.
Because he'd only got to 600,000. Yes. He's done a further 400,000.
Yes, there's some scepticism about this in the ranks, as you'd imagine. But look at that mechanism, that picture in there. That mechanism looks really complicated, doesn't it?
It does. Imagine having to design one of these.
Yeah,
that'd be a nightmare.
Blimey. Anyway, yeah.
They'll probably get AI to do it, won't they?
No doubt. Robots will do it all. Anyway, take that with a pinch of salt, but 1 million times.
Yes, and then poor old Morris, who's sitting there going 100,000 times and has to treat his blisters every night whenever he goes home. This phone's never going to break. Right, moving into the name of the game.
Yeah.
We've got some gaming stuff. We're going to start with Nintendo because you're all excited about Nintendo because they've got a new patent that shows a detachable 3DS-like device with an outer screen. Looks like they're going to be taking maybe the Switch up a notch and making something a wee bit more akin to their 3DSs that they've done in the past. DSs. So you get Switch DS, dual screen Switch. That'd be cool.
I've got a theory about this story. I reckon, and this is my own theory, I've not got this from anywhere else. Just looking at these pictures, though, I reckon that Nintendo are going to try and make a smartphone, which is game-centric. So when you open it up, it turns into a 3DS-type device, which is very clear from the diagram. But when you close it, it's also got a screen on the outside. And you can see from the other diagram in this article that screen on the outside could be used for anything. There's no sign of any microphones or speakers or anything like that on the outside. It's very basic drawing, but you heard it here first. Nintendo are going to make a Android smartphone, gaming-centric one.
Well, we could do that with anything. This could be a suppository. Nintendo is going to be making a new Switch suppository.
Yes.
You heard it here first. Well, yeah, stranger things have happened. I was watching a thing about how Sega made a home computer out of, I think it was the Master System, years ago, and it failed miserably. I'd never heard of it before, but yeah, they do tend to want to get their hooks into the pies. But, what are their options? They're going to build this. It'll probably run the operating system that's on Switch, which is based around Android, and then people will start doing what they're doing with the Switches and hacking all kinds of things on. I can't imagine it's going to have 3 particularly great screens, given that, the Switch right now doesn't have a particularly great screen, and they have to try and make this price correctly to be able to appeal to the people who want it with 3 screens, and, well, it's only got 1 joystick on it. That's a bit silly.
So why do you reckon it's got a screen on the outside, then, if it's not for folding into a phone?
Movies.
But why can't you just open it up and look at the movies?
Some people don't want to do that.
Okay.
I don't know, maybe it could fit into an Oculus Rift or something like that. Some sort of virtual reality. So you can sit down and be like in a theatre and watch Super Mario on a plane. don't know.
Okay.
It's a bit of an oddity, or perhaps it could just be a patent, so that if anyone else decides to do this,
Yeah.
Nintendo's done it first.
They get their money.
Yeah.
Ooh, blimey. Hello.
Right, moving on to Google and Epic, because it appears that Google attempted at one stage to pay Epic Games around about $147 million to put Fortnite on the Play Store. I think this is kind of fascinating. I did have a quick look through this to see, but my mind kept being distracted to the fact that I think Samsung have Fortnite, don't they, on their app store?
Do they?
I think they do, because I remember doing an unboxing of one of the Samsung tablets in years gone by, and I got inundated with people asking me to send the copy of, or to send some sort of in-game thing that was given away for free to them because I wasn't using it.
It is coming up as part of the Epic Games suite, Fortnite. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and I think it's because Samsung aren't charging Epic Games any money, for in-app transactions or in-game transactions.
Right.
Whereas Google do. They'd be wanting their 30% share.
Okay.
And that's why Epic did the fingers to Google and said, if you want it, you can go and buy it from here.
Yeah.
And we'll be coming back to this type of story later on as well, because there is more to this than meets the eye, especially when it comes to Mr. frickin' Zuckerberg. There's all kinds of legal wrangles here and problems, and that's the reason why we haven't got Fortnite on a big uptake on Android and iOS at the moment, and people have had to do alternative things to be able to get it on there.
Sorry.
You all right?
Yeah. I just dropped my giant S23 Ultra.
That was a bit silly of you. So, anything you want to add? I think it's just an update that the court case is carrying on.
No, not really. I don't know anything about Fortnite. In fact, I didn't even know how to spell it. When I just put it into the Galaxy Store to check it, I've spelt it with Night. Shows how much I know about
silly boy.
No, but do you think that it's underhand and that that Google shouldn't have been doing this, and it's anti-competitive, and and that they've had their wrists slapped?
Kind of, but as we're going to go on to another story later on, there are ways that they could have dealt with this. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Fortnite is a free-to-play game that has in-app purchases that supports the whole gaming end of it, and Epic have done rather well from that on PC and from the platforms that Fortnite's on. Apologies, people, I'm ignorant in the way of Fortnite. I don't play it, and I don't play PUBG or Call of Duty, whatever. I do know just a tiny bit about it, so I'm just surmising that this is what is going on here. But where Epic were relying on the money coming back in, they had a massive way that they could do this, and they tried to get people to come along and download and install it from their website. You basically just download the APK, and then if you bought anything through the APK version of the game, then you would be giving your money directly to Epic and cutting Google out of it altogether. Yeah. So Google went, no, you can't do that. Mm-hmm. We run Android, so we want 30% cut of everything. And Apple something similar. But it is more about Google here. I kind of understand. I see it a wee bit as subletting, I suppose. If you own a house or rent a house and then you try to sublet it, it's not fair that the original person who owns the house isn't getting a cut of that sublet. So say you own a house and you rent it out to Bill for £200 a month. No, wait, hang on a second. I'll adjust that for inflation. £2,000 a month. And then Bill sublets it to Margaret, and Margaret's paying £2,400 a month. Then Bill's making a tidy profit, and that's not legal, and there's capital gains tax and all that kind of stuff that comes into it. So this kind of works that way, where you've got that problem where Google's providing the platform. Google want to make money from the platform that they're providing. Epic want to launch their product on it, so they should really have to give Google some money for that. But because of the way Epic have set up their property, you know, that they'll be losing on every single dollar, they'll be losing 30 cents. Is that fair? You know, and do you care, to be honest? I'm just thinking about it. Does anyone really care? Fortnite's not there easily now to get. So, is Fortnite still a thing?
I've lost the will to live.
Yeah, okay. Well, we'll move on before I confuse myself anymore. Because I'm just wanting to get on to the next one, because I'm very excited about this topic. Because November 16th, coming to us Steam store near you is the Steam Deck OLED. This is a new version of the Steam Deck. It is not the Steam Deck 2. It's like a mid-life regen of the Steam Deck with some really nice features, putting the Steam Deck exactly where it should be in its lifespan. And I reckon that Steam have looked to see what the criticisms are about the device. What people are doing to the device to be able to make it better by modding it themselves, and they've catered to that. They've listened and they've reacted, and instead of the typical lineup of 3 Steam Decks, we now have, I think it's 5 Steam Decks, but only 2 of them are there because there's still some stock left. So once they're gone, and the bottom levels will be dropped off. But they've changed some of the pricing for various models, and we've now got the Steam Deck OLED occupying the 2 top spaces in the market that they have. And really, there's 3 devices that they're selling. The first is the 256 gigabyte Steam Deck LCD, and that's I'm going to go with dollars because I don't have the pounds in front of me. It's $400, and it's just the same as the 256, which was the top end? No, it wasn't. It was the middle one. It is now the lowest. It's been taken down a notch to become the lower tier, and it was the same as anyone who's bought it previously. You're not getting too much extra there. The 2 new ones are a 256 gigabyte Steam Deck OLED at £549 or dollars, and then there's a 1 terabyte Steam Deck OLED at $649. There is another one as well, which is a limited edition with a new kind of mold to it, a new see-through mold that looks really quite nice and swanky, and I think it's $679, but it's limited edition. Will probably be gone by the time this goes on sale, because I think people will pre-order it straight away. The big difference is the screen. It's obviously OLED, so it has a new screen which is increased in size a little from 7 inch to 7.4 inches. Being OLED, it runs less powerfully. It's more economical on the power, and it looks a lot better than the LCD. It runs at the same resolution, but it's a wee bit bigger, so it just looks nicer. It has a peak brightness of 1,000 nits, which is excellent, whereas the old one had a peak brightness of 400 nits, I think. And it's a wee bit smaller as well. It's thinner, so they've been able to use that extra space as much as there is. There's a tiny bit of space, but they've managed to use it, and they've installed a new battery, a new bigger battery that is a 50 watt hour capacity compared to the older 40 watt hour capacity, and it will give you 30 to 50% of an increase over the previous model or the current bottom baseline model, the LCD one. And so I think it was IGN, they've run some tests and they confirmed that is quite correct, where the Steam Deck LCD would run for maybe an hour and a half. This runs for 2.5 hours. So it's a lot better on price. It's a lot better on power consumption. It lasts longer and it runs cooler as well. It's got a new, slightly better APU inside, which is on a 6 nanometer process as opposed to the previous one, which was 7 nanometers. And it's going to run a lot better. So it's less thirsty for power, and it's got a bigger, brighter screen. So it's all good. There was a little thing that I don't see too many people covering, but I noticed the APU, the graphics unit, is going to be running at 100% all of the time, I believe. Or the max frequency is going to be at 100%, which is unlike the previous one, which would run at say 40% and then boost itself up when required, so it would use more power. This is able to run at 100%, so it's a better result all around. And it goes on sale. It seemed to be quite quiet up until quite recently. All of a sudden, boom, it's here. It's going to go on sale on November the 16th, and units will be shipping almost immediately. So, big news for the Steam Deck. Very exciting news, and not much hanging around or waiting till after Christmas. They're getting it done just in time for Christmas for you to either upgrade or to take that plunge, because I think this is what people have been looking for. And that 1 terabyte version is nicely priced at occupying the price of the original old 512 LCD, with the storage the preferred storage that most people were buying, the cheapest end of the 64 gigabyte version, and removing that and then putting in a 1 terabyte and just making do with it with the lesser screen. So it's really good. Are you going to get one, Ted?
No, probably not.
Okay.
But I'd be interested to see if you get one. Have people in the past replaced LCD screens with OLED screens, or has that not been possible? Because unless there's really good trade-in values on these, if you've already bought an expensive LCD one, unless you can swap the screen out or whatever, you're unlikely to then go and fork out another 500-600 quid for just doing this to upgrade it for the OLED, aren't you?
Well, that's a tricky one, but I guess it's down to each individual person. There was a news story a few weeks ago, and I got a bit confused thinking it was what this is. And that was when there was the Steam Deck HD that we discussed, where it was a home kit that you could upgrade the screen on your Steam Deck with a third-party kit that replaced the screen. Whenever I realised that, I got very red-faced and carried on. But this is what I think I was expecting from that. But yeah, it's a great. It puts the handheld exactly where it needs to be, and it gives it a really good fighting chance against all of the competitors from Lenovo and from Ioneo that are swarming, and each one of them is being evaluated. Is this better than the Steam Deck? Now you have to remember the Steam Deck runs SteamOS, which is Linux based, whereas the other ones all run Windows
or Android.
Some people. Or Android, but I wouldn't exactly include those exactly as a Steam Deck alternative, because they're pretty rubbishy compared to these things. But the Windows ones, they have better experiences from being able to run the likes of Epic Games or GOG or stuff like that. Getting those to run on the Steam Deck is possible, but it's a wee bit harder to do. You have to jump through a few hoops to get them to work. And I think once the Steam Deck manages to grasp that, then you could do it. You can install Windows actually on the Steam Deck. Yeah. But you have to jump through a number of hoops in order to do that.
So do you think that the company will offer people trade-up deals? Or they're not a Samsung, Apple, Google? They're not going to do that sort of thing?
No, it's straight up kind of just buy your Steam Deck, because I'd look to see if there was financing options and things like that, because I know my son wants one and I don't want to have to go out and buy two. Mm-hmm. And if I get one, he's going to want it all the time, so I couldn't have that.
Hide it.
So I'm still on the fence about buying one, because I know that I will become frustrated because I'll have a little 11-year-old running around going, "Where's the Steam Deck? I want the Steam Deck!" And every time I go to use it, it'll be out of juice.
What I do like about it is where the A, B, X, Y buttons are. I think I said on the last show about my fingers on the Switch Lite just couldn't get past the joystick thingy. It's just, for me, it's laid out wrong. Whereas with this Steam Deck, they're up and away from that joystick, and I think that would be much better. So Yeah, it's nice. And if it wasn't so expensive, I might like to be interested in getting one. One of our MeWe group members always buys these and sells them on at a saving, so we'll watch out for that one.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I'll maybe decide after Christmas. In the not the January sales, I can't imagine it being on sale, but I'll maybe decide then after it's bed in, and yeah. But I don't want to share it. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Right. WhatsApp is confirming that ads could well be coming to their platform in the future, and then people will leave. Do you use WhatsApp? I don't think you do.
No, I don't. I've got no interest at all in WhatsApp and the people that use it generally. No, we won't go into that. Yeah, ads are going to come to everything, aren't they? And the next story is also the same one, really, which is Facebook and Instagram are starting to offer ad-free plans in Europe in November. And half of that is probably to do with the EU regulations, and half of it's because they want to make some money, like they've seen Twitter do, and leads us into the third story, which is Twitter's edit button is now $3 a month, ad-free subscription $16 a month. So you've got WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, well, all of those are Meta, I suppose, and Twitter, all just changing their platforms completely, trying to blame the EU regulations probably between them, but they're all basically saying that, you know, we're going to add ads. No doubt in time, WhatsApp will offer someone a $5 a month thing to remove the ads that they're about to put in. It's all very annoying.
Well, yeah. Well, it moves back to the other story as well. We were talking about Fortnite, because if you dig down into that, where Instagram and Facebook are concerned, if you buy it directly from them, the subscription, then it'll cost you €10 a month, or $10.61. But if you buy it through iOS and Android apps, it'll be €13. Yeah. So you're paying that 30% to them,
the hosting company.
So you're having to pay Google as well. Yeah, which I think is going to become that's obviously the solution to Fortnite, and that's the solution to everything. Is just whack on an extra 30% to the price to cover that.
Yeah. We're living in an ad-littered world, and part of it's our own fault because we're expecting more and more services to be just free, and stuff can't just be free because there'll be no businesses to run it. You've got to monetize it somehow. So, do you either put ads in to pay for it, or do you put a charge on it like Twitter are doing for their service, or do you charge people not to have ads? One way or other, something's got to give, which brings us back to the MeWe model. The MeWe model that we talk about now and again, they appear to not have adverts and not be charging anyone to use it, not be charging anyone. And frankly, you wonder how on earth they keep going. But it's a growing platform, and I'm just expecting someday down the line that they will say, we've got to do adverts now, or you can pay $2 a month to not have adverts. But up to now, they've been claiming that they make their revenue by people buying add-on, bolt-on things like storage and emoji packs and themes and stuff like that. So yeah, something has to give, doesn't it? People can't run businesses for nothing.
Yeah, and I think there's a bit of collusion, I reckon, going on behind the scenes. What with Twitter doing it, then Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, all talking about changing things. Don't forget, Reddit has done something similar as well, where all the third-party apps that you could buy and then, or you could use ad-supported and then buy it, Reddit has decided, well, we're going to change that around and ban all third-party so that all ad revenue goes directly through to Reddit as opposed to someone else.
Right. Yeah.
So it's almost like all the social networks have sat down and gone, look, we're going to have to do something about this. This free thing isn't making us the trillions that we had done. We're in danger of dropping down to billions. So let's do something, and we all do it at the same time, so that you're not going to get people jumping ship quite quickly. You know, Mastodon is there and people are moving over to it, but it still hasn't got the level of use that you can get from Twitter. If you need to find something out quickly on the news or something that's happened somewhere in the world, you go to Twitter and you have everything that's happening there. You know, people are pushing stuff through on Twitter all the time about what's happening in Gaza, and you have right up to the date information there. But if you go to Mastodon, you might be waiting 2 days or something before you get some sort of new news. And WhatsApp are looking to do that and have their news channels that you can go in and have a look at various different stories. So it is becoming more of a social network platform that can share stuff. Telegram have it, and I think Signal has it as well, to try and get you the most relevant stuff to keep you on their platform. But whenever they start to put paywalls and things and advertising in it, that's whenever people are going to turn away and look for alternative options. But not as quickly as you'd like.
Or like it so much that they're prepared to pay, which is the topic I think we spoke about before with, say, for example, Gmail. If Gmail suddenly said that I have got to pay them $5 a month to use Gmail, then I'd pay it because I like it so much. But yeah, where there's an alternative for people that they can get used to, I suppose they will. Incidentally, Mastodon is growing, and it depends very much. There's a huge amount of news-based stuff you can follow on there. I personally follow Al Jazeera. Now, I know that that's very Middle East-centric, but it does do world news as well. So it may not be quite as breaking as you'll get in TikTok or whatever, but it certainly does give you news if you follow the right channels.
Yeah. Right, moving on. Oh, grief. Do we have to talk about this one?
No.
Microsoft are going to make you pick a reason why you're wanting to get rid of OneDrive.
Bastards.
There are a bunch of reasons, and I think a lot of them are that they haven't looked at these properly because there is overlap in them. The first one is, I do not want OneDrive running all the time.
Hurrah!
The second is, I do not know what OneDrive is. The third is, I do not use OneDrive.
Yes.
The fourth is, I am trying to fix a problem with OneDrive.
Yeah. The problem is that it stays on all the time.
Yes, which is, yeah. The next is, I am trying to speed up my computer because it's running all the time and you want to fix that problem.
Okay.
And you're not using it.
Yeah.
The next is, I get too many notifications.
Yes.
And then the other is other.
So you can say, I hate it.
Yeah. Oh, you can't hit all of the above, which I suppose aside from I do not use or I do not know what OneDrive is. That's the one that I think is the sensible one, but all the rest of them are kind of right in the right ballpark where you can make an argument that they are all the same But yeah, OneDrive popped up again 2 weeks ago on me for no reason at all, and I had to remove it again. I'm just checking to see if it's there now. It's not there. No, it hasn't come back.
To some degree, it goes back to what we were previously saying, though, is that Microsoft, like all those other companies we were just talking about, they all have to return a profit. And we're expecting to be given Windows and Windows updates for free and not have to pay like we used to for the next edition of Windows. And so we get all that for free, but Microsoft is still there. I know they're stinking rich anyway, but, their shareholders will be saying, we need more revenue, and getting people using OneDrive, presumably, somehow, increases that revenue. Not sure how. Is there adverts in there?
Well, yeah, I bought Windows 11. I purchased it from Microsoft. It's not an OEM copy. I've got a legitimate license because I've had that problem in the past where I've had an OEM copy, I've had a problem, and I've gone to Microsoft and they've gone, oh, well, you've only got an OEM, you need to go and see the engineer.
Right.
Like, oh, well. So I purchased my Windows 11 now, but I get ads in it, but I purchased it.
Okay.
Why should I get ads?
Yeah.
Why should I have OneDrive popping up all the time? I don't want to support that. I have an alternative. So this keeps coming along.
I agree.
Although I did find some stuff in my OneDrive that I'd actually lost and thought, oh my word, it's there. Ow! Thank goodness for the backup that they did. Maybe that's why it appeared on my computer, actually, because I went and got it. Yeah.
I've got no interest in using OneDrive. I've got no complaints with it. And in actual fact, I've got 1 terabyte of space to use on it with my Microsoft 365 subscription. But I just don't use it because I'm so in bed with Google. And
I think there's a problem with that, isn't there, as well, where you can't store things over 4 gigabytes or something like that. They have a file limit.
Oh, do they? Oh, wow.
Something, I can't, maybe it's not that, but there is some reason why I went, well, I'm not using OneDrive then.
Yeah.
Synology's the way. All right, Microsoft's next Windows 10 update could see Copilot come to 1 billion more users. Copilot being a famous GPS software that was installed on Windows Mobile back in the day. You could also get it for the Palm. Oh, wait, no, that's not Copilot.
Yes.
This is something else, isn't it? What is Copilot? Is it Cortana with a mustache, a fake mustache?
No, it's a Bard. It's a Chat GPT. It's what Google. Have you not played with it? If you've got a Windows 11 computer, you should have it already down in the taskbar, and they should be inviting you to use it. And if you click on it, you can then just start doing whatever you can do with Google Bard with it, and it's actually quite good. It's fine. The news here is that there's so many people still using Windows 10, like me here, that they're saying we want to roll this out to as many people, get them using it as we can, and so they're going to include everyone still using Windows 10. And I think you're probably right that when it comes to 2025, because you said this ages ago, that this deadline in 2025, if there's that many people still using Windows 10, there's no way they're going to drop it and end support for it, because there's just, as this proves, there's so many people using it. Hello, you still there?
Yes. Sorry, you dropped off a second there.
Oh, right.
Folks, I am having trouble with Ted today. He drops off for about 2 or 3 seconds.
Oh,
hopefully
dear.
it's not coming out in your recording, but I might not be responding as well as I could to some of your comments because
Okay. Pay attention!
most of it. You'll have to start typing it out, okay? Type it in the show notes, everything you're saying.
Unfortunately, with Tech Addicts, we don't record the Skype call. We have recordings going separately and locally, so you shouldn't have any impact from this. It's just, as you say, we might not kind of quite get what the other one's saying. Hello? Anyone there?
Cut off. Well, yeah, that's absolutely true. And well, yes, I did have a point, but I've forgotten what it was now.
Oh dear.
But we'll move on. It can't have been terribly important. I'm sure it'll occur to me as I'm reading off the next headline. Gmail for Android has started to show new quick reply UI. That rhymes, doesn't it? Quick reply UI.
Ooh.
It's catchy. That's a bit like being able to send a text message, I suppose. It'll try and predict what your next word is going to be. Sometimes it gets it right. Sometimes it doesn't.
Turning email into messaging. That's what they're doing. And yeah, okay, messaging. You see, I think of email, Gmail, as a formal letter writing forum, not an instant messaging chatting forum. And I think there's place for both. But Google clearly want to turn Gmail into a instant messaging chatting like thingy, and so they're going to do that. So
well, it makes sense, doesn't it? Because they've tried so many times before to get their own messaging thing across. Now they're just going, well, we'll just have to do what we've got that's popular, and that way we can force everyone who's on it to do it this way, and it'll have this many built-in users.
Yeah.
People are not going to shut down their Gmails because they don't like it anymore. Are they?
I don't rightly know. But they might do, because there are lots of other... If you're not wedded to Google like I am, there are lots of other email services you could use. But then perhaps all those are the same. They're all going the same way. We're living in a changing world.
We are. But what I have not realised is the fact that I have skipped ahead in the show notes, and this is the last thing in the Google Gallows section. So we're going to go back to the start of the Google Gallows, and Ted is going to take us through everything new in the world of Chrome, Google, and hardcore pornography.
Yes, Chrome OS is getting reading mode formally, so the read aloud element of that will be baked into Chrome OS for Chromebooks. You can actually do that already if you throw some flags and you get into developer mode and all the rest of it. But yeah, there are some people that like their websites being read aloud to them. One of which is Chad Dixon, I think, one of our MeWe member groups. He's really into this, and for me personally, I don't really ever do that, but those that want it, it's there. The Google Weather redesign, I noticed that has arrived on my Samsung devices this week, so it's got this nice wide design that's designed for tablets and foldables, which was only originally available on Pixel phones. That's now rolling out to other devices, as I say, Samsung devices, but also older Pixel phones, so that's coming. Messages for Web starts rolling out new Google account device pairing. Well, I've tried to do this. So you know that on a Windows computer, if you want to use web.messages.com, then you can install the Progressive Web app, and you can use that. In order to set up that web on your computer, you up to now have been able to do a QR code. Well, they're going to make that a bit more clever now by just doing it via the device pairing system, which they do other stuff at the moment with anyway. Whenever I check for that, in fact I do it now, live on air, I shall check on... that's Twitter. I don't want Twitter. Go away. Right, where
I'm doing it too, actually.
Yeah, and then what happens is if you go to it and then you click on the bottom there and say sign in, and then you choose your account you want to sign in with, then I still get this bar at the top saying this feature is not available for everyone at this time. So that is refresh this page. No, it's still not available. Have you got it?
Yeah, it's working for me.
Is it? You bastard.
Although you still have the ability to put a podcast on YouTube, I don't.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Very odd. Anyway, so that's coming. It's just an easier way to pair your device with your messages service on if you're using a desktop computer. Chrome for iPhone, but not Android. Bizarrely, now lets you have a bottom address bar, so very much in keeping with what Apple have been doing in Safari on the iPhone. That Google have stuck the controls down the bottom, which is probably the best reason that they've done it on iOS first as opposed to Google or Android, because Android users are not used to it anyway, whereas Safari users are. Okay. And the last story was the one that we've already covered. So anything you want to pick out there?
I was quite interested in the reader mode because I went to use it this morning, and it's been such a long time. That was one of the main reasons why I moved over to Edge a few years ago, because I really liked the fact that their reader mode could read stuff aloud to you, and you could just open up a website, hit read, and then stand in the kitchen and chop up your vegetables. And it would just sit there reading it to you. Yeah. It was great. But Chrome's never been able to do that properly, easily, without having to install this, that, and the other, and then having a bad time with it.
There is an extension you can install which works really well.
Nope.
And it is called... You can't install an extension? No, it's called Read Aloud. So if you go into the web store...
Nope.
The Chrome web... Go into the Chrome web store, and then...
Nope.
Why are you saying no?
I'm not doing that.
So if you go into
I want to click reader mode and say, like in Microsoft Edge, and say, right, reading mode, read this to me.
Yeah, well,
no, it doesn't let me do it.
Well, if you put an extension into Chrome, it will. It's called it's called Read Aloud, and you can install it, and it works perfectly. The news here,
I think I used it once before, and I thought I don't like this.
Well, nor do I, and that's what I was saying about Chad. Is that I have no use for this service, but for those that do. Fair enough. But if you want to walk into the kitchen and listen to it, you can do that now. But it's coming to
Edge
Chrome
did
OS.
It so nicely, so long ago.
Okay.
Anyway, right. Bargain basement, because I'm getting quite
bored.
Time is ticking on. No. I've got to be round to my mum's for lunch in 12 minutes ago. Right, we're going to start at the top and work our way down to the bottom, unlike the last section, which I messed up. Right, bargain basement. Starting at the top. The first one is the Chromecast Google TV. Chromecast with Google TV. The 4K version, this is, no less. It is down in price from £60 down to £39, which I think is pretty significant saving. It's 35% off. Yeah, that works. I have one of these and I use it on one of my TV, the TV that's sitting right behind me right now. I still quite like it. I don't think it's nowhere near as good as the Nvidia Shield, but it's still fine. It's just fine. I paid £60 for it and I thought, nah, is it worth it? The Wii remote control is kind of useful, and one of the things you can do is you can change your source from the remote control, which I love. Roku and Nvidia Shield, none of those have the source button on it, so you can't flick through the sources of your TV to change it over to other channels or to other HDMIs and things like that. So I love it for that. And also it's fairly simple to use. Some people could say that it's got a lot of advertising built into it and things like that, but I don't really agree with that because it just advertises things that you have in your streaming channels that you're currently using. You can plug in Ethernet if you need to, because there's USB Type-C on the bottom of it, so you can get more reliable, faster speeds if your Wi-Fi is a bit flaky and you're a bit worried about 4K over your Wi-Fi. Ted, have you got one of these?
I thought that was to power it. Isn't that USB-C?
You can power it that way too.
Oh, cool.
You can put a USB hub in.
Okay, right, okay. Yes, I have got one, but not the 4K one, and it sits in the drawer not being used because the Roku box just does everything I need it to. Incidentally, the HD version is also 34% off, and it's $22.99. So for the likes of me, that would do. I don't need 4K, and so that's reduced as well. But yes, I do have one, and I don't use it because are there any services on it you can't get?
I don't know. I haven't checked.
Okay.
You can't get Pornhub.
You can't get...
you can.
You used to be able to not get Amazon Prime, for one example.
No, you get that on there.
Right, okay.
All the ones that I have are on there, if that makes sense.
Okay.
And I have most of them.
Okay. Check out Movie. Right, the Samsung Galaxy A34 is next. It's been reduced from £399 to £249, 38% off. 256GB version, and it actually looks like an awful lot of, like we were saying earlier about the Tab S9 FE, you know, for those that are less fussy about things like DeX and all singing, all dancing cameras and what have you, the specs on this don't look bad at all, and that's a good reduction in price as well.
It is. It's a good looking device. This I've got this in my basket with another one as well, because if he's not getting a new tablet for Christmas, and he's certainly not getting a Steam Deck for Christmas, then he's going to be getting a phone to go to secondary school or grammar school, wherever he ends up, because he did his AQE the other day, or whatever it's called now, 11 plus graduation type exam from primary school to secondary school, and he's going to need a smartphone to be able to go to school next year, and his Huawei crap thing that he's got isn't cutting it anymore, so that's what he's going to get for Christmas. Yeah. This is on the list.
Yeah. It's a good-looking phone, I think. As I say, if you're not really fussy about high-end specs.
Yes. Next up is the Crucial X6 1TB portable SSD. This is featured quite a few times on here because I bought one back on the 29th of April, according to Amazon. I also have the 2TB version as well. I don't think it's the X6 though. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. But this is down in price from £105 to £46.61, and I think these are ace. They're tiny. They feel really good in your hand. Whenever you're just sort of twiddling with this, it's like, I like this piece of tech. It's one solid lump, and you know what it does. It's got really fast transfer feeds of 800 megabytes per second. It's compatible with PC and Mac. It uses USB 3.2, USB Type-C, and they're wicked if you need to take stuff with you. these are the things that you need to be buying. I love these things from Crucial. Well done, Crucial.
69 millimeters by 64 millimeters. It's a dinky little square, isn't it? It's a tiny little device.
Totally.
Rather, I should say so. Right, Alienware is next. Tri-mode wireless gaming keyboard. Now this looks really smashing. Unfortunately, all the people in the Amazon review section seem to be slating it based on the fact that their older one was better. But I really like the look of this. And one of the things they're complaining about is that the battery doesn't last 24 hours. So that you've got this plugging in thing in the back, which is a magnetic thing, incidentally, and every day you've got to plug it in. Well, I suppose in reality you just leave it plugged in. Anyway, this has been reduced from £249 to £175, and I really like the look of it. I'm not going to buy it, but I do like the whole Alienware thing. It's quite nice, and this is a real old mechanical cherry key mechanical keyboard. I fancy it.
Yeah, I'm actually thinking about getting a new keyboard as well, and for a bit of gaming, because I've been playing some games of late, and the W, A, S and D buttons are actually wearing down on my MX keys, so I'm looking to get a dedicated gaming keyboard, and this looks pretty swish. It's just a pity it's white. There isn't a black version.
That was another complaint that they said as well, but laying that aside, and having to plug it in every day, I suppose.
I can find with that. I actually prefer, for gaming, you would prefer a wired connection.
Okay.
Yeah. Good one. I like it. I will investigate it slightly further and more and thoroughly-ish. Next up is Motorola, a company that I'm sure you're familiar with, Ted. This is the Razr 40. It's the 8 gigabyte of RAM, 256 gigabyte ROM version. It comes in vanilla cream, which sounds really creepy. But it's down in price from £800 to £595 and 59p. So that's 5959. Yeah. That's not offering me this. I was on my Chromebook earlier, and it gave me payment plan for, I think it was over 12 months.
Really?
But it's not now on the desktop. How bizarre. This is a folding phone, a bit like the flip phones that you would see youngsters out using. And it comes in a variety of nice colours. The vanilla cream one is a $5 cheaper than the other ones, which are called green, which I believe is like a greeny colour. And lilac, which is not purple. In fact, it's lilac. And they look kind of nice. Ted, I'm sure you love these devices because they say Motorola on them.
Oh, here we go. Look, if you click on the lilac one, you get the payment plans. Mm-hmm. The one that you'd link to, I think, was the. Oh no, it's installments by. Oh yeah, 200. No, it's installments by Barclays. But
that's Barclays.
But that one's coming from Amazon, whereas the cream one, is coming from some third-party store called the Big Phone Store. I
tell you what, maybe they've sold out of the cream one that I've noticed earlier.
Ah, right, okay. So if I was going to get one of these, it would be the lilac one with the payment plan, and that's coming direct from Amazon at $599. This is the lower down version of the Razr 40 Ultra, and it's got the little screen on it, like the Flip 4 and the Flip 3, the Samsungs. But actually, I didn't really like the big screen on the front of the phone, to be honest. So I think that would be a really good buy. So good shout, I say.
Cool. That's a nice looking device.
Right. Okay. Another nice looking phone is the Pixel 7a. And that bundle, which we mentioned it before, the only place you can get a charger with the blooming phone, Amazon are bundling a 30-watt charger with it, and it's been reduced from $449 to $379, and that's in charcoal. And yeah, you can't get that deal anywhere else. You've got to go and buy a charger separately. But yeah, nice little device. The first time the A series has had wireless charging built in, so hurrah!
Yeah, nice. Good option. Yeah, okay, cool. Next up is the second of the devices that I now have on the list for my son as a possibility. The Poco X5 Pro 5G. This is the 8GB version with 256GB of storage. It's got a 6.6-inch 120Hz Full HD Plus POLED display. It's got a Snapdragon 778G. Come back to that in a second. With pro-grade 108 megapixel camera and a 5,000 milliamp hour battery inside of it. This is the UK version, and it comes with a 2-year warranty, and it's been dropped in price from £369 to £269. Now, the reason why I wanted to come back to the processor is I went down to the reviews, and a gentleman, a person by the name of Carol, so not a gentleman, possibly a gentleman, there's a possibility, could be a gentleman, says that the phone is supposed to come with the Snapdragon 778G chip, but after downloading CPU-Z and checking the CPU, it's powered by a Cortex ARM A55 chip, which is bizarre.
Oh, what?
But a Cortex ARM A55 chip.
Well, on GSM Arena, it's saying that the X5 Pro has indeed got the 778G, and I think that I would trust them probably more. The 778G is a good chipset, I think. It was the one that was in the Pixel 5, I think. Nothing wrong with it, it's just not top end. And that P OLED, I do not believe is true, because the P OLED screens tend to only be on Motorola devices these days. It's made by LG, and again, GSM Arena are saying that it's a straightforward AMOLED, which would fit more in keeping with it being a Samsung panel and not an LG P OLED. But anyway, check if you're going to buy that, check the details if that is important to you.
Yeah, I think it's more just the price at the moment. And Poco was a good brand that I've had in the past, and I very much like. So I've got that and the Samsung sitting beside each other, wondering which one I should go for. Which one? Don't know. And this does come in black or in blue and yellow as well. I remember the yellow coming out, actually. Yeah, when Poco announced that yellow, we did give it some shit on here for it being a very piss yellow colour. It's quite potent.
Yes. I quite like yellow things. My Nintendo Switch Lite is yellow. Actually, looking further down on the blurb from the company, they're insisting it is POLED, so perhaps it is. Perhaps they've done a deal with LG as well. Anyway, not that important, really. I'm sure it'll be a very good panel.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Decent enough device, I think. And did I say the price of $269? Yeah, down for $369. Yeah,
very good.
So there you go. There's one more.
Last one is a listener one from
Ted.
Chris Kelly, which is the Logitech MX Ergo wireless trackball mouse. And that's been reduced from $109.99 to $73.99. And Chris Kelly flagged this up because he said that it's a very, very good option for people with that are getting wrist problems from using a traditionally styled mouse. You can elevate it through 20 degrees, so you can have it at 2 different angles. But more importantly, it's got a thumb ball thingy, whatever it's called, a scroll ball, trackball.
Trackball.
Yeah. And I was going to hand over to you at this stage to say, I've never used one of these. I guess you have at some point. Is it any good?
I haven't, but I believe it's good.
All right, okay.
According to Chris Kelly, because he likes it.
I thought I was convinced you'd have had a go with one of these. Okay, but
no, but I do have someone that I work with who insists on having one of these, and it is entirely because of her wrist being not as great as it used to be when she was younger. Does that defy controversy?
Doesn't yes, thank you. I've got the feeling that it might knacker the joint in your thumb though. Instead, if your thumb is constantly moving all the time, you're moving one problem to somewhere else. Maybe it depends how knackered and arthritic your joints are, I suppose.
Could be, but this is an older device as well, so it would come with micro USB, I believe.
Oh, does it? Okay.
Yeah. Oh no, it says USB Type-C charging battery, but the front of the device has a USB or micro USB on it. So who knows?
Oh yeah, so it does.
Yes.
You're right. They're lying hounds. Anyway, thank you, Chris.
Okay, well, that about brings us to an end of the show, and I'm going to go and get my lunch. All right, well, if you want to get in touch with us, you can by emailing us at gareth@techaddicts.uk. You can find me on Twitter as well. There's there's techaddictsuk, and then there's garethmiles.ing. No, wait, garethmiles.com. And I have my Mastodon. You can find various links out to Mastodon from there. Ted, where can they find you?
TedSalmon.ing. Does that word? Does that work? Ted Salmoning. I've been Ted Salmoning. Ted Salmon.
There's a fair few ladies who can say that.
TedSalmon.com is where you'll find me. If you want to buy me a coffee, it's paypal.me/Ted Salmon. I'm on Mastodon some of the time, but I am mostly on MeWe, and you can link through to all of that stuff at TedSalmon.com. Cheers.
All right, well, we'll catch us all in a couple of weeks' time for another wild, crazy time of nonsense and crap. Oh my God, we're at 2 hours again. This was supposed to be a short one. Right, goodbye.
Bye.